One quick thing before we start. I want to do a regular live 58 keys, maybe once a month or something, but what can we talk about? And what would be useful to you? When you've seen this 58 keys, or if you've seen any other, if you think there's something that I might know an answer to about writing or writing apps or something, well, then let's find out with a live 58 keys. I mean, give me some notice so I can cheat and look things up and appear very knowledgeable, but maybe we can figure out things together. Please comment below if you would like live episodes and especially what topics you and I could do together. Thank you. Now, back to this week's video. Hello, I'm William Gallagher and this is 58 Keys, which as ever, as always, is for AI, is for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads. Do subscribe or find the like button thing or support 58 Keys on Patreon, because there is always so much to talk about, and right now so much of it seems to include the phrase AI. Previously in 247 videos, but that seems a little high, you know, but I suppose it includes 58 keys, video courses, and no, okay. Anyway, across the 250, whatever it is, I have said before, because I am so certain of this, that once the hype of artificial intelligence is over, and yeah, true, when we know what the impact on jobs and writing is going to be, yeah, but we are going to be left with tools that are useful and the realization that we've already had them for a long time. So, for example, when your iPad offers to correct your spelling of Beiderbecke, when your iPhone recognizes that an email is an Amazon invoice and so offers to file it in your money mailbox, like I have, when you write an email to Bert and Sarah and your Mac points out that, you know, like, excuse me, usually you also include Sydney in these conversations. We never think to call any of that AI, but all of it is. Only now I've added a specific AI writing tool to my writing business. It's full on AI, it says it is, it's upfront about it. And in doing it, it's made me realize that there are already several tools that I use at AI without my even thinking about them, without my even remembering the term AI. Please stick around to the end for an example of how AI is not going to replace us as writers. But before then, I'd like to show you 3 examples from my writing business, work I do as a writer, in which, call me dumb, I've only now realized my writing business is already dependent on AI. I'll tell you now that one of them is actually the reason I thought of this at all. One of them is so startling to me because while I do have, you know, some doubts and it's not perfect, it's an AI tool that's sufficiently good that it has replaced Google for me. 3 examples, okay? Starting with this, because I was actually asked about this the other day and I realized I have much stronger opinions than I knew. So naturally I have to tell you, it's very important that you know my opinions. Last Friday, I was in London interviewing someone, and of course I recorded that interview, of course I did. So, you know, the quotes would be accurate later. Obviously, also that it's faster. Yeah. What I've been asked about specifically is which AI recording app I use so that at the end of the interview, the transcript is already done. None. I don't use any AI in interviews. Not in the interviews. Afterwards, absolutely. I'll explain. You can get very good iPhone apps like Whisper Memos, which will transcribe your thoughts as you're saying them. Well, not your thoughts, but you speak, whatever, but it will also transcribe an interview as you go. If you have ever sat in front of a tape recorder back in the others, winding back the audio half a second as you type out the next word, unimaginably wonderful. I mean, seriously, AI transcription. I could take up religion just to have gods to thank for it, but not during an interview. Whisper Memos, and I'm not trying to single that out, it's a good app, but lots of them are like this. They will record the interview, but solely for the purpose of creating the transcript. You and I cannot then play back that audio. So if the transcript is wrong, or yeah, you know what it's like, it's confusing in some ways, we can't just press a button and play back the interview to hear what was really said. And actually, think about it, I suppose we have no recourse if an interviewee later claims they didn't say what we quoted them as saying. You can't trust a transcript, it's done by AI. I mean, okay, that is not very common, it hasn't happened to me directly, but it did happen to a colleague. There was a TV executive who quite forcefully insisted that the magazine we were on had just made up something. I was given this colleague of mine's audio recording of the interview and directed to find the right segment. That was a boring job listening to it, but did it. Find that clip and then put it online. And yep, there it was. TV exec saying this thing that I think actually later got him fired. Anyway, you're hearing in my voice, in my words actually for that matter, that I am just a little bit totally against using AI for recording interviews. But if I sound somewhat inconsistent here, AI is from the gods, AI is by the devils. Actually, it's really simple. I will never let an app solely transcribe for me. I have to have and keep the audio recording as well. I have to. Which means that actually I record using any audio app in the world, and then afterwards I run the recording through an AI app. I mean, actually, let's be specific. I drag the file onto a Mac app called Whisper Transcription. There's a whole 58 keys linked in the description about that app, and I like it enormously. I mean, if we're going to be specific, let me also say it's actually a bit clunky sometimes. If I do that thing of dragging in an audio or a video file to Whisper Transcriptions, well, then it complains. You have to have bought the Pro version to do that. I have. Open the app, then drag the audio in, and it goes, oh, okay, so you have. So you have. Let's get on with that. But the crucial thing to me is that, yep, I am now 100% reliant on AI for transcription. I have not transcribed an interview by hand for at least 3 years now. But I'm also conscious of what it can't do for us. So, record on anything, AI transcribe later. It's not like it adds a lot of time. Of course, if you have two apps, two recorders, one could do the audio and one could do the AI transcription, but actually no, I've had things go wrong before. Frankly, I'd still use both recorders for audio. But one more thing, just when I was saying that about audio recorders. Last interview, that Friday, the interview thing I did, I recorded it on voice memos on my iPhone, and look at this, More Riverside, London. Voice memos on iOS automatically labelled my recording with that, and I didn't even understand it. I showed it to my interviewee and she said, yeah, actually, little known fact, the area immediately outside her office is for some reason actually called More. So there's AI doing something for me that I didn't think about, didn't know. I mean, it's a small thing, it's a quick thing, but let's be fair here. More Riverside, London is a lot better than Untitled Recording 99. Speaking of quick things, here's another quick one, mostly because it's not about text, but it is something in my writing business, and I wanted you to know about this. Actually, once I realised that I wanted to talk to you about AI tools actually being useful as writers, I then also realised this thing of it already being useful for me in my writing business. For example, I wrote an article the other day about the history of the iPad. I used the Wayback Machine to get an original 2010 image of it direct from Apple's website. Full credit in the piece, of course. But a 2010 image does not look great in 2024. I mean, actually, in this case, poor example, because this one isn't that bad at all. It's a little small. I don't think you can see on a YouTube video, but it is a little small for our higher resolution screens on websites today. And but you know, I've seen an awful lot worse. I've seen tiny things. Still in the or the cases. I have been doing this since. No, wait, actually, how long? I don't know how long I've been doing this. Let me check. Griff, 5 years, for half a decade. And we thought AI was new. I've taken old, small images and made them bigger enough to use today. In my case, through Pixelmator Pro and its super resolution feature. There are other apps that do this, but they all do it using AI. They examine previous images, what it's like to change. We do all sorts of, oh, you know, that thing in TV shows when the police ask, can you zoom in? Can you enhance the image? And they go, yeah, well, now they can a little bit. And I do it 5 times a day without a thought. But speaking of using things without a thought, well, you've already spotted this, haven't you? Well, should have tried that before we began speaking. Really, shouldn't I? That was perplexity.ai, which in fact is the thing you've seen me use throughout this episode. And right there was me asking it if there is an episode of 58 Keys about itself. I mean, this is, isn't it? So even if, perplexity.ai has some kind of timey-wimey feature so that it knew when I asked the question that there would later be an episode about it, well, it's still wrong in every other way. I mean, for instance, okay, I do know what caching means, and I could tell you if you don't happen to know, and if you do happen to care, but there's not a lot. Well, there is an episode about it, and I can't actually conceive of whether there could be a whole 58 keys episode about it. I mean, it's 2 sentences and done. You might prefer that to my rambling. Okay, so all right, that was an unfortunate thing for Perplexity to get wrong, and actually it's far from the only time it has gone wrong for me. I was writing an article, for example, 10 days or so ago, that needed to quote specifications for a particular device, and I'm rubbish on specifications, and it turns out, yeah, Perplexity can be rubbish too. Do you know, I'm talking myself out of recommending it, and I really wanted to recommend it. This is the thing that has replaced Google for me. I mean, not entirely, but most searches I do now are through this perplexity.ai. And actually, tell you what, let me give you examples where it did work, where it was good, where it wasn't better than Google. Back to that London interview thing. It was actually an interview at a thing where we were discussing possible venues for another thing. Do you love the level of detail I have for you here? The woman next to me was looking at a venue that she'd heard was particularly good, and she recommended it to us, and it sounds great, but she actually handed me her iPhone and asked, did I happen to know how to find out what public transport there was around this particular area? I handed back her phone, turned to Perplexity on my iPad, and in a moment gave her the full details. Not just looked up like Google would, not a list of London transport websites to check and an ad for something, but a complete summary of the bus and train options near this particular venue. And they were right. Or something else you couldn't get from Google. Twice now, just very recently, I've been writing news stories, and in my research for those, it really looked to me like one organisation was boasting about how many member companies it had, but for some reason didn't appear to be naming any of them. And another was saying there was a particular figure, some important figure, count of something, and it had gone down. But I couldn't find anywhere in that claim, in that report, reference to how much it had gone down by, what the old figure was. And in both cases, I asked Perplexity to read the source websites, and it said, nope, no mention. Now, I wouldn't rely on that by myself, but as a kind of reassuring backup for my own failure to find information, I'm cross-eyed and tired, am I just missing it? That was good. It seems to me that when I try out examples for you, Perplexity's hit rate goes down, but in general use during the week, it's proven to be so useful, proven over and over, that yes, I now use it before I try Google. And when I do use it, I like how it doesn't just cite its sources, it puts them right up there in their face so you can go check, which I do, which you have to. But compare that to other AI tools where sometimes they don't even include their sources at all. Perplexity.ai is free to use at the moment, but there is a pro option that, well, actually, I'm not sure what it costs. Let's find out. There you go. I knew there was a free and a paid version. I'm still on the free one, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to tip over into pro and paid. I didn't know that there was any connection with Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. Do I have to use Copilot? Okay. What about alternatives to Copilot? Now there you go, there's some, I did actually want to know that, so thank you, Perplexity. But also, look at this, look at what happened. I asked a question, and then I followed it up with 2 more, both of which it answered correctly, without my having to start over with questions like, do I have to use Copilot with Perplexity.ai? This is actually something that Apple is rumoured to be adding to Siri in the future versions, iOS 18, and things coming soon. Yeah, but it's supposed to be like that before. I don't quite know why it isn't already, but you know, there you are. There it is. Apple's WWDC on June 10th will give us more AI tools. It is June 10th, I think. And I think that's what they're going to be, tools, specific tools to help us get things done, rather than some sort of general chat APT like app. But we'll see. Whether it's June or later, tools are the future of AI, and I am sure of that because tools have been the past of AI too. Okay, I promise you I really am recommending Perplexity, but as well as, all right, the failures you've seen and some less obvious failures I've come across, I did also try this just to see. Give it some credit, be kind. Perplexity did not tell me to begin by saying, "What's up?" It didn't tell me to address you as guys, plural. But even in the glimpse you saw there, and I read the whole thing, that wasn't 58 keys. It wasn't you and me talking as writers. It was a game show host in the pocket of the developers of AI writing tools. Do you know, actors have told me before that they loathe getting directions in script on how to say a line, you know, in brackets, Riley, whatever. I mean, I understood, I thought, but seeing energetically in there, I wanted to slap Perplexity. Didn't mean to say that, but there you go. I'll never use Perplexity or any AI for a script, not even if it actually gets good enough that it doesn't read like a really naff commercial. I will always figure that if a writer can't be bothered to write a script, there is no earthly reason why I should be bothered to read it. But Perplexity, for all that, you know, I'm practically embarrassed about how I managed to turn up so many bad examples. Perplexity is good, and it has changed how I do certain things, and I think it has changed it for the better. Once we get beyond the hype for AI, and once it settles down, once job losses and copyright problems are resolved, once all that, this is what AI is going to give us as writers. And that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. 58 Keys is over! Yeah, all right. Thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself. Write more, and I'll see you soon.